Hey everybody, it's Brett with a quick market update. It's been a little while, been a couple of weeks, so wanted to unpack what's been going on in these crazy Bitcoin and crypto markets here. So just diving in with a little bit of news. We won't go through a lot of it, but today and recently we had a nice spike in Bitcoin. Very unusual day on Wednesday where Bitcoin was looking like it was going to push up, and then there was a panic sell-off, liquidated around $300 million in longs, and everyone thought things were going to fall out again, but then Thursday, we've seen it push back up above 30,000 briefly, and with some more banking concerns, which in the end is driving more money into Bitcoin because that's really what it was invented for. And the days of the 2008 financial crisis were when the first white paper came out, as we know, on by Satoshi and the use case for Bitcoin. So this is all going to be ultimately good for Bitcoin. Big question is there a clear coast for market recovery? We're going to dive into that, look at some charts here in just a minute with Bitcoin. First, I want to start off with the DXY. I've had this roadmap on the screen here for several weeks. And so what we are sort of in this crypto rally zone, but the DXY pulling back and riding this trend line down as it's going down to these lower levels. That should be better for Bitcoin prices. This is just a rough roadmap here. I do want to talk about where I see Bitcoin going in the short term over the next couple of days and also over the coming weeks. So you definitely want to watch this video and see where I see things going. I feel very strongly about that. So with that, why don't we dive into this chart. This is a monthly chart of Bitcoin here. And what I'm sharing right here is basically the target for where I think we could hit and a case for $48,000 to $50,000 Bitcoin, as we can see in this red zone here. But first, where we are now, we've seen 4 months of upswing in the monthly chart of Bitcoin. And we caught that with this green arrow here, one of our proprietary indicators called the early reversal indicator. And so we did push higher up around this $32,000 level, which I was suggesting we would, and then we'd hit some resistance. And so a reason for that resistance on the monthly time frame is that was sort of a support area back here back in May 2021, acted as support a couple times, 3 months in a row, bounced up here to that secondary high back in November of 2021, that upthrust after distribution according to the Wyckoff patterns. And then we've been in the selling off ever since in 2022. So, and according to this, also we had a support flipped as resistance here in May of 2022 and June. So that's why this $32,000 level is so important. I do think that we'll get to the daily time frame in a moment. I think in the longer time frame, weekly, and then the monthly, that we pull back more than likely down around the 25,800 range. Pretty likely we'd see some kind of retracement and profit taking from these last 4 months where Bitcoin has gone up considerably. So with that, in terms of these ranges here, if we do see a deeper pullback, I don't expect that, but certainly we could, which would give a stronger base for a much higher Bitcoin faster. And but I don't think we would see new lows here. I really don't feel that's probable or possible. The worst case scenario, maybe coming down back down just under 20,000 to retest the midpoint of this vector candle here. I have seen that fairly common in the past, where these large candles have at least the midpoint tested, but we did see it retest that midpoint here in the candle from last month. So I believe that has been actually already filled. So more than likely what I'm watching for is a pullback into this green zone here, again, back into this sort of 25,800 range. May not go that low, but that would give us an excellent chance to buy Bitcoin and get in at a very strong bounce, which then I believe would go up to this 48,000 range to 50,000. What is that? That is the golden pocket Fibonacci retracement. So if we draw that from the market cycle top all the way down to the cycle lows recently and the bottom and stretch that out a bit, that puts us right at the golden pocket, right at 48,000, 49,000, and up to, let's say, around 52,000. That's between the 0.618 and 0.65 Fibonacci retracement. So I think that that's a pretty likely scenario and what I'll be watching for. So in terms of this other chart and just looking at the MACD on the monthly, nice, very symmetrical recovery here, turning back higher. This would put us in the bullish range here, crossing over probably by June. I think that May is a question mark in my mind, either if we continue to push higher or stall a bit and then really push higher onto the green bars again by June and July. June, I think we'll start seeing some really solid upswings. And we're seeing this the monthly crossover here, as we know, when the bearish side, when we crossed over back here in November. Actually, the peak was back here in November of 2021 when I was telling people to get out of these markets, but really pounding the table to get out of the markets when this crossover happened in January of 2022. So we've seen this recovery and down cycle. So by June, July, we should be in the clear and pushing higher strongly. So that's another supporting case for that $48,000 to $50,000 Bitcoin, maybe 52K. So moving right along here. I want to unpack this a bit on a weekly chart. So in terms of the moving averages, the 200-week SMA, you can see that this purple line, so that has been strong support in the past as we've looked at in prior videos. By the way, if you like the content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We do these periodically, and so this will help you navigate these markets here on a more timely basis. So, of course, the 200-week moving average, simple moving average, held as support in December of 18 and 19. Also, in the COVID crash, certainly it did sell off past that, all the way down to the 300-week moving average, but it held on the weekly candle here, right? That 200-week SMA. So we did break down below it here in this last market cycle, became resistance here on the retest in August of 2022, and pushed up here, hit resistance again, trying to break through that, but it finally broke back above that 200-week moving average here. And so what I am anticipating again here on the weekly basis, a pullback into a buy zone right around this 25,800, 25,900, right to that 200-week moving average. That would be great for us to catch this bounce out of that pullback buy zone. A couple other things to look at in terms of these parallel channels, also seeing, we'll just switch to a 2-day to actually 5-day to kind of widen that a little bit. But to see that we have broken out of this downtrending channel, I always like to identify these parallel trading channels as early as possible. So we broke out above that back here in January, and we're now clearly in a new weekly uptrend. So that's good news here. We want to keep an eye on that. And so the slope of that, I anticipate that will continue on, taking us all the way to 50,000 more than likely. And in terms of these trend lines, I'll just show that, again, we have support here. Also on that pullback buy zone around 25,500 was that pivotal line in the sand. So whether it's 25.5 or 25.8, 25 to 26,000 range, it is a range zone where I think we would see a pullback and a bounce back out of that area. And so I'll layer in a couple more of these trend lines here, and on the trend line resistance would match up this upper parallel trend line trend zone. So let's take a look also at this, but I'd like to show you. And I guess we don't need to see that. That doubles up a bit. What I wanted to show you, though, is this head and shoulders scenario where we could see, and we're kind of seeing this play out, where the left shoulder is here, the head here. So we saw that a bit on this pullback. If we continue to pull back down into this range, actually have a better chart on the daily. So this trend, this head and shoulders, is a bit broader scale and would look more like this. If it fails to hold in this level, we could see a further drop down in this $23,000 range and a possible head and shoulders forming. But I see a nearer term one on the daily time frame. So let's have a look at that next. I want to explore all the options, but before we get to that, here's a interesting scenario where we could see $100,000 Bitcoin sooner than later. Not likely at this point, but if you're following the de-dollarization scenarios and also the banking crisis, which is seeing a lot of money flowing into gold and ultimately could push Bitcoin prices higher. Now, I don't believe Balaji, from the former CTO of Coinbase, who has a bet that will go to $1 million Bitcoin in 90 days. I don't think he actually meant that, but to show that we are at the bottom and to push prices higher, likely he has enough Bitcoin that he can easily cover that bet if we get up to these higher prices. So what this is a bars pattern from back here in 2020, 2021, and showing, though, that this kind of price pattern is possible and can push us higher up into this $100,000 range. What we have to remember, however, is that this is not the bull run. We are not in the 2024 cycle. We're in the early stages of a bull run. So more than likely, this kind of scenario is going to stretch out a bit. But it's sometimes interesting to overlay this and see these price patterns and how these fractals can repeat themselves. So also on that Fibonacci retracement that I showed you in the last chart, which if we did that again, the 618, the golden pocket retracement would put us right into this $50,000 range at the 0.618 to 0.65. But the extension of that, the 1.618 would get us up to that $100,000 range. And then from there, I do see a scenario where the higher legs of that on the next bull run, the 2.618 gets us to 155K, the 3.618 takes us to 210,000. So these are some scenarios I can see happening in the next bull run into 2024. Probably not going to see that before then. I think more than likely in the end of the year, potentially we could see $100,000 Bitcoin going into the end of 2023. But really, we want to focus on the near term and what could happen. We could see sizable pullback at that golden pocket if we get up into that range, see some profit taking and regrouping. So again, we want to kind of keep an eye on all the different scenarios. So let's see these charts here. Let me jump ahead to this daily chart because this is very interesting. And we're seeing a surge in Bitcoin today after the sell-off here and the interesting wish-washy day yesterday where we pushed up higher. And then there was a, I think it was probably some market maker maneuvering to make sure that's how they make their money, guys, is liquidating positions. The true range was higher, looked very bullish. We're seeing that continuation pattern. And so if we go into this daily chart, looking at my proprietary indicators, also seeing bullish signals, a bullish ERI, that's the early reversal indicator, followed by the trend strength indicator. These two together are highly correlative, very powerful, and high significance. So I do believe, we see some follow through here. Also, as our signal line starts pushing toward the green, when we get these all in alignment, they are highly accurate. So I'm also waiting for our trend indicator to turn into from our key to the bell. The bell is a buy signal on a little bit longer time frame. Not quite there yet. And so watching that, but I think we see some follow through from this. Yesterday was a bit of a unusual scenario. Now, let me take this off here and explain what all this other noise is. Didn't have it on at the beginning because I didn't want to have it be too confusing. So with all this, what this means, we did have a bearish ERI previously, took us down to this 50-day moving average. So this I had as a possible buy zone. So we did bounce out of that accumulation zone on the daily, the 50-day EMA right here. And now we're back above the 20 EMA. So this resistance zone is now turning into, either the right shoulder on this shorter term head and shoulders. Let me clean this up a little bit. Sorry about all this. And I've got a lot going on in this chart. So we looked at the trend channel already. I don't need these here. Was looking for a possible head and shoulders back in this area. Didn't get that. Which we can see there. I'll turn off this ERI and then we can kind of look at the chart action. So I think either we hit some resistance in this region and roll over, and then possibly we're seeing that head and shoulders pattern on the shorter term time frame. We want to be aware of that, which could take us back down again into this 25,000 region down below, or this upward trend channel. We could find support at 28,000 and continue this swing higher. So that is certainly in the cards. We kind of push up higher, or if we reject here and come back down, and then we see a push higher breaking through that. Too early to tell, although coming back to this weekly time frame, I do think we're due for a pullback in the weekly time frame. So on the daily, pushing higher for the next few days, possibly retesting that 30,000, 32,000 range. But I'm getting bearish signals here on the weekly time frame. What is interesting, though, is that the 21-week EMA is about to cross the 50-week EMA. That's very bullish. So I want to keep an eye on that. Maybe we just pull back here a bit again to that 25.5 region that we talked about, find support at the 50-week moving average and the 21-week moving average crossing up above it. That would be an excellent setup and scenario, at which case we'd could see something like this. And of course, I've got some other trend lines in here that I had turned off because I didn't want to have it be too hard to look at. But that is what I'm looking for here on the shorter time frame, right? So pulling back to this region and then pushing higher. So brief pullback or the continuation higher in the next few days is actually what I think is more likely. Could pull back from here on this putting in a lower high from yesterday, but it would be great to see it push up higher in this 30,000, maybe a little bit above it range, and then sort of pull back here, the support, like we said, and then from there really see it take off because I'm sorry, pulling back here on the weekly basis. And then after that, in the near term, probably end of May, going into July, sorry, going into June. Sorry, I'm missing a month there, trying to draw this here, this kind of scenario. That's what I think is more than likely. So look for some profit taking opportunities up around 30,000 here. Wait for a pullback on that weekly time frame, maybe more like this. And then I think off to the races, guys. I think we are heading higher. I think the bottom is in, certainly. And next opportunity for getting in long on Bitcoin, which actually Bitcoin dominance looking excellent. Do want to touch on that here. And I had drawn this black line here a couple of weeks ago. We'd pull back from the 48, 49% of Bitcoin dominance, which we did, found support at the 21-day moving average. And I think we break up above this. I think we break up above it, come back and retest, and then push higher. And that would coincide with $50,000 Bitcoin. Ethereum dominance not looking terribly strong. Going to the 5-day just to bring this a little bit shorter and near so we can see this. We looked at this in the past. Bitcoin dominance has been in place since kind of the beginning, but ETH flipped over back in November 19th into 2021, rather. See this nice upswing in ETH dominance, but it's been sidelining, going sideways since May of 2021. So this either needs to break to the upside or it's going to break down to the downside. If it does start breaking down, that's further gas for Bitcoin dominance to push higher and push higher strongly. So I was wondering about, with the recent upgrade, the Chapella upgrade, the Shanghai upgrade with ETH, if that would be a catalyst to break up above. You can see I have alerts on ETH dominance, 21 and 22%. Kind of wondered, would ETH lead the next bull rally? But right now it's looking like Bitcoin is going to be the leader, and that would make sense. So let's keep an eye on that, and we'll keep you posted in terms of what plays out. And then after Bitcoin has its run, generally the altcoins kind of get in the game. Not seeing a whole lot going on here in terms of alts, but we can take a quick look at the total market cap. Now, this is interesting. We have on the total market cap, although this is a 5-day, jumping the gun a little bit, where we have the 21 period crossing the 50 period and finding support. So very interesting right in there. Let me go back to the daily so that we can take a little bit closer look at this. But similarly, that downward trending channel on the total market cap has been broken to the upside. And so we are in an up channel. Now this can widen, which typically happens, but right now I'm watching this and watching the total market cap. I'm glad to see that it held at the 5-day EMA right in here and is bouncing up higher on that. So this is bullish, everybody. And also getting some great signals on our proprietary indicators, the early reversal indicator with the trend strength indicator going green. These two together, highly correlative, high confidence, especially when it breaks above that 20 line. And again, if you guys have interest in finding out more about those indicators, you can go to moonstream.io/success and find out more about those. And let's see. So in terms of the indicators, that's all I wanted to talk about here today. And that's it for this week, you guys. We'll keep you posted in terms of what's going on and what we see coming. But again, I see a short-term rally in Bitcoin, Ethereum, for likely pullback to support on the daily, weekly basis, as we saw, and a pullback here, and then really pushing higher toward that next level. And I think it's a pretty fast push to 50K, certainly 48K, certainly, likely pullbacks along the way. But that's what I'm seeing in the markets and in the charts. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this week's video. I'll try to do more of these more regularly. I will be in Bitcoin 2023 in May in 3 weeks. If anybody's going to be down there, let us know if you'd like to connect. And with that, I'll go ahead and sign off. Take care, everybody.